Minister of Australia.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the Honourable Julia Gillard, Prime Minister of Australia.
Thank you very much. Mr Speaker, Mr President pro tempore, distinguished members of the Senate and the House, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the fourth Australian Prime Minister to address you. Like them, I take your invitation as a great honour. Like them, I accept it on behalf of Australia. Since 1950, Australian Prime Ministers Robert Menzies, Bob Hawke and John Howard have come here, speaking for all the Australian people, through you to all the people of the United States. They each came with a simple message, a message which has been true in war and peace, a message which has been true in hardship and prosperity, in the Cold War and in the New World, a message I repeat to you today. Distinguished members of the Senate and the House, you have a true friend down under. For my parents' generation, the defining image of America was the landing at Normandy. Your boys of Pronto risking everything to help free the world. For my own generation, the defining image of America was the landing on the moon. My classmates and I were sent home from school to watch the great moment on television. I always remember thinking that day, Americans can do anything. Americans helped free the world of my parents' generation. Americans inspired the world of my own youth. I stand here and I see before me the very same brave and free people. I believe you can do anything still. There is a reason the world always looks to America. Your great dream, life, liberty and the pursuit of happiness inspires us all. Those of you who have spent time with Australians know that we're not given to overstatement. By nature, we're laconic speakers, and by conviction, we are realistic thinkers. In both of our countries, real mates talk straight. We mean what we say, so let me say this to you. You have an ally in Australia, an ally for war and peace, an ally for hardship and prosperity, an ally for the 60 years past, and Australia is also an ally for all of the years to come. Geography and history alone could never explain the strength of the commitment between us. Rather, our values are shared and our people are friends. This is the heart of our alliance. This is why, in our darkest days, we've been glad to see each other's face and hear each other's voice. Australia's darkest days in the last century followed the fall of Singapore in 1942, and you were there with us. Under attack in the Pacific, we fought together, side by side, step by bloody step. And whilst it was Australian soldiers at Milne Bay who gave the Allies our first victory on land in the Pacific War, it was American sailors at the Battle of the Coral Sea who destroyed the fear of an invasion of Australia. Distinguished members of the Senate and the House, Australia does not forget. We will never forget. The ultimate expression of our alliance, the Anzus Treaty, was not signed until 1951, but it was anticipated a decade earlier in the judgments, the clear, frank and accurate judgments of an Australian Prime Minister, and in the resolve, the extraordinary, immovable resolve of an American President. In the decades since, we've stuck together in every major conflict, from Korea and Vietnam to the conflicts in the Gulf. Your darkest days since Pearl Harbor were 10 years ago in Washington and New York, and we were with you. My predecessor, John Howard, was quite literally with you, and he came to this capital when you met on September 12 to show you that Australians would be with you again. And after 50 years, under a new Prime Minister and a new President, the Anzus Treaty was invoked. Within Australia's democracy, John Howard and I had our differences, but he was and is an Australian patriot, a man who was moved by what he saw here in that terrible September. He was and is a friend of America. When John Howard addressed you here in 2002, we were already with you in Afghanistan, and we are with you there still. I want you to know what I've told Australia's Parliament in Canberra, what I told General Petraeus in Kabul, what I told President Obama in the Oval Office this week. Australia will stand firm with our ally, the United States. Friends, our friends understand this, that we will stand firm with you. But perhaps more importantly, our enemies understand this too. We must be very realistic about Afghanistan's future. Australia firmly supports the international strategy led by President Obama and adopted in Lisbon last year. Australia is doing our part in Uruzgan province, in particular, and across the whole of Afghanistan. The government of Afghanistan must play its part too. We know transition will take some years. We must not transition out only to transition back in. We must not. From my discussions with your country's leaders in Washington, my meetings with generals in Afghanistan, and my time with our troops, this is my conclusion. I believe we have the right strategy in place, a resolute and courageous commander in General Petraeus, and the resources needed to deliver the strategy. I am cautiously encouraged by what I have seen. For a moment, I want you to see Afghanistan through the eyes of Corporal Ben Roberts-Smith. Ben is Australia's most recent Victoria Cross winner, our equivalent of your Medal of Honour. Ben is a veteran of 5 tours of Afghanistan and first went there in 2006. When we met recently, his words to me were compelling. He said, "It's not the same country I first went to 5 years ago. We are making a difference."